All right, Mark. So this was said to me recently by somebody that's been in this league coaching for a long time. They said, what concerns me about Arizona is that Kyler's no longer young, but even veteran quarterbacks need a half a dozen layups a game. And that what Cliff is doing is running an offense that is asking Kyler to repeatedly be Superman. And you've got to give some easy, even the veterans, Tommy's going to want his 6 to 7 layups. Is it a fair criticism?
They ask Herbert to do a lot. They ask Joe Burrow to do a lot, right? Those guys are elite processors. And even elite processors, the Bradys, the Mannings, they want a couple breather plays, as you mentioned. Those kind of plays are getting taken away by these teams, and they've started the game plan that the Niners and DeMeco Ryans put out on those guys last year was, instead of rushing, a lot of times defensive ends will rush one deep and one shallow, and they remind each other before the snap. A lot of times they'll signal to each other so they don't run into each other, right? So instead of going for the quarterback and trying to attack him, they kind of just keep him in a hallway, right? Muddy up the A-gap because he's short. His A-gap, which is directly to his right, so he doesn't get an easy throwing lane, okay? So now, if he can't spin out and start playing, street ball and scramble drill,
it limits a big chunk of his...
his production is siloed into this really narrow hallway with a bunch of defenders in the way. So it makes his life really, really hard. So now you don't see those big splash plays of him getting out on the edge because nobody's going to reach for him and attack him. They'll just absorb him and collect him and keep him inside the pocket. Now, you want a smaller guy like that to drop back 40 times a game and beat you? I like my chances on defense. You know what I'm saying?
Okay,
it's just let's make it as hard as possible. Don't give up these quick little layups that turn into fast break, easy buckets. Let's lock all that down and see what he does. Make him throw it 10-plus yards every snap. It's hard. That game becomes really, really hard.
Similarly in size, Tua's small. Admitted he can't see over the line, but he's having no problems.
So I understand that argument. Same with Drew Brees. Same with certain players. They can find throwing lanes. Tua's instincts are some of the best. I don't even know if he can explain it, why he does certain things, because his brain and his arm are just reacting so fast. They also have some elite speed on the edge, and they're also taking deep shots downfield. So it backs off some of those defenders. So he is able to get some of those underneath easy plays. He's got a stud tight end. He's got running backs that can catch the ball out of the backfield. Gesicki's like underrated tight end of the century.
Fantastic.
This guy can ball.
He's been good for a couple of years.
Other than the dancing, I think he's amazing. We got to work on some of those moves.
He's the classic guy. He is the classic tight end in this league that is overshadowed by, your Travis Kelce's. But
no doubt.
He is a dog.
But
man.
You have to respect Waddle. You have to respect Tyreek Hill. You don't want to put anybody on an island with those guys. So if you're helping everywhere else, once again, it's backs and tight ends. And Tua can move enough. He's savvy enough. He's clearly understanding this offense really well. They're operating at a high level. They look like when a team is just on the same page, you can just tell it's clicking. They look like the 08-09 Patriots where Brady and Moss went for like 50 touchdowns, or like the Greatest Show on Turf with Warner and all those guys, Torrey Holt and Isaac Bruce and all that. I mean, that's what they look like. That's how fast, how quick everything is happening, and Tua is in complete control.
Okay, so get the Bengals, Joe Burrow footage ready, guys, in the back. You did the game last week. Obviously, they got a huge lead.
Great story.
Mixon ran like crazy, which makes everything easier. But if I said to you I'd never seen Joe Burrow play, and I said, hey, Mark, this kid in Cincinnati, what's the it? What is it, Mark?
Part of it's Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
Really, I think he eliminates some issues that they had on offense without running the football, or the lack of even attempts running the football or whatever. Obviously, one game has really changed their averages. Just like for them, their first two games, they gave up 7 sacks and 6 sacks or something. So on average, their sacks per game are going to be crappy till about week 12, right? It's just going to look bad in the averages category, just like the amount of runs will look bad. But Joe, once again, elite processor, has an incredible connection with Jamar Chase, and it's like a sixth sense, like a spider sense, right? as soon as he's one-on-one, look out. Like it's just the ball's going there. The other thing that I thought was just hilarious is I walked into the bubble last week watching their practice, and Zach Taylor happened to be standing right there, the head coach for the Bengals. And I walked up, and I had done my film prep, and it's Friday before the game, and I walked up and I just said, what's the deal, dude? You allergic to handing the ball off or what? He looked at me like, who the hell is this guy? Like, right. And, I kind of said it with a smile or whatever for the shock factor kind of deal, and he started laughing. And so we're just going back and forth. And I said, I'm just shocked you guys haven't had a mutiny up front, because those offensive linemen, they don't want to play Red Rover all game, okay? They want to go attack somebody. They don't want to just collect all these defensive linemen all game. I mean, Lyle Collins, I was with him in Dallas. Like, that guy's a road grader. He can pass block with the best of them, but he can really, open up some
go forward.
Kappa, all these guys that they picked up on this O-line. And so we were laughing back and forth. And then pregame, I see Joe Mixon on the game. I don't know him from Adam. He doesn't know me. And I just said, hey, I heard you're getting like 20, 30 carries this game. And he looked at me like I was Frankenstein, number one, because that's never been their game plan.
Right.
But now, once I saw the game unfold, he really did have like 25
He
carries.
did. And he was.
So he was probably like, how does he know our game plan? Who is this guy?
But Joe has always been one of those, because of Chase and T. Higgins and Burrow. Nobody ever talks about their defense. Very good. And nobody talks a lot about Mixon. Yeah. Mixon's on a short list. I mean, he's in the top.
I agree. He's an absolute
He's
baller.
got a little Adrian Peterson where he'll run over you.
Yes, he's like a smaller, compact, low shoulders, strong. That dude's a load now. You don't want to tackle that guy, especially in space, because he's so quick. But he's falling forward consistently. I mean, he had 13 touchdowns last year. So it's not like this guy just burst on the scene, but watch him capture the edge on all those plays. They wadded up in the middle and let him go capture the edge. It's double teams across the board, go one-on-one with a corner. Good luck with that, dude. that is just a physical mismatch for corners, for backers, for safeties. And the way he catches the ball, do you see him track that football, tap his feet? I mean, the play before that, a receiver couldn't do it. And Joe Mixon did the exact same thing on a scramble drill and scored. So they got plenty there. They just have to run the ball. I said it to Zach Taylor, man, just hand that thing off. He said, I want everything to go through our quarterback. We trust him. He's an elite processor, all that. I said, it can go to the quarterback. Snap it to the quarterback, but just let him hand it to somebody.
Well, also, I don't think it's good, even if you have a great young quarterback. I don't think you should throw the ball 45 times a game. You could just argue this.
It just gets hit a lot.
Thank you.
100 times since the start of the 2001 season, that's when he's hit the ground with the ball in his hand. That doesn't count every time he's getting smacked after he lets the ball go. So, I mean, clearly they want that guy upright. They want that guy for the long term. So, you're going to have to run the ball, especially when it gets cold.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd, or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.